All right, ready?
Now I'm ready.
All right. Welcome back to Leadership in 320. We are here with our second episode. We did come back for one more at least
yeah.
here. Yeah.
We're going to give the people what they want or don't want. Not sure.
No. Well, one thing learned from the first one, I'm going to try to be mindful of my heavy breathing here, picking up the mic, so when I'm not speaking or...
Yeah, I could hear it, but I was hoping that everybody else could.
So we'll get that addressed somehow. That might be a bigger problem though than just the mic picking it up, but I'll work on those things.
Usually that breathing's only reserved for some kind of a buffet.
Usually, yeah, then it's activated.
Prepping
for
yourself
sure.
for Pizza Ranch or something.
No, gotta get the moisture wicking shirt out and making sure.
Oh yeah, speaking of moisture wicking shirt, as much as I was sweating last week, that's a bold move going with the sweatshirt today.
Well, as much as you were sweating, I was fine.
I just figured you were sweating too. I was.
The light colored shirt is an interesting choice. All sweat stains.
So far, we're good.
The blue and black. I believe that's not a...
I'm not really into fashion, but I've heard that works. If you can wear black and brown, you can wear black and blue, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, anyways, we are here to talk about this week a little bit about ultimately what's going on between the years, on the day in and the day out.
There's a lot cooking up there usually.
Yeah, whether ultimately talking a little bit about whether there's positive or negative thoughts flying through there, and whether someone is a pessimist or an optimist as it relates to how they live their life and how they share their leadership with others. Speaking of which, are you a positive guy? Are you a optimist?
I'm definitely a positive person, definitely an optimist. I feel like, I don't know, I wonder about it every now and then. Is it because I'm just like so simple in that like things don't really get to me or bother me because it's like, it'll be all right kind of a thing. But no, I mean, I try not to let things weigh me down too much. You got to go with kind of what you're given and make the most out of it and realize that, you won't be that bad.
No, the show shall carry on regardless.
How about you?
I would say, it would be interesting. I think there's a little work for me or a little work to be done.
I think for everybody has room for improvement.
Yeah, I'd say I'm rather positive. I'd say depending upon, what setting I'm in. I think at the workplace, I'd say I tend to reflect a little more positive persona, maybe. I don't know why that is. Maybe that's just my own head too. I am positive
at work, but I think of that for me.
I think my spouse, may not see me as much as that. I tend to be a little high strung, which probably is not a surprise to you.
No.
Which oftentimes, so at least in the little more I've aged and grown up a little bit in the last few years, I don't know if the high strungness has gone away, but it's just been more internalized now than in my younger years, I guess. But yeah.
Well, I mean, if that's gone, matured, if he's matured as much as your hairline's gone back, I think you've gotten very good with that.
Yeah, no, that's going not as bad as yours, but I'm getting some gray hair, but I don't care what color it is. I would just like it to stick around for a while.
Yeah, I've been waiting.
I've been
waiting for like 10, 12 years. I want that silver fox look, but instead I talked about it so much, and now I don't have any gray, I don't think, but it's going back.
It's going to be gone before it turns gray.
I know. What a very cruel twist of fate.
That's too bad.
I embraced the gray and I didn't even get it.
No, it's something, but I think it's such a huge topic, but especially as it relates to leadership. If someone's looking at you again at home, at work, to be the guy, the gal, whatever respect that looks like, is a big part of that is kind of making sure what you got cooking in your own head is of a positive light and coming from the right place, which is easier said than done too.
It depends on the day to an extent.
Yeah.
If you walk in and you're mentally hanging on by a thread, it's not going to take much for that to snap.
And like you said, obviously there's limitless challenges in life that one can have tossed their direction. Bigger things, some more significant challenges, whether it be personal things, whether it be health things, medical things, or, changes.
And a lot of those which are completely out of your control.
Yeah. But I think it's the same principle, even if it's small stuff, say you're running late and then a train blocks your way and, that tacks on a few minutes, if that throws you in a complete tizzy if you're pounding the dash or doing some cussing.
I hate Burlington Northern.
It seems to be the same, how you react to those little more minuscule things probably will relate to how you'd handle some of those bigger ticket items.
That's setting the table for the rest of the day.
Yeah. No, so like you said, it kind of comes on the day, but I think pretty much, someone is either on that spectrum of being a pessimist, optimist, to pretty much, again, the daily you could probably pick out and make your own judgment as far as if someone, where they fall on that scale, which the good thing is, you can change too. You can make some changes and either become a little more optimistic with a few choices, which you and I have talked about some of these things. And there's some more, fancy research-based words, but like the filtering ultimately. Mm-hmm. So, which this is interesting. I think that relates directly to reflection, which is so critical if it's after a certain event meeting, but ultimately, at the end of the day, if you think of filtering and how I think of it in my own head and what my mind likes to do sometimes is the little, like if the panning thing, what's that called?
Going for, I don't know, like for gold, you mean?
Yeah, for gold, but more so like
I don't know what the
like the kids are at the lake
sifting tool thing is.
Yeah, so the kids, like at the lake, whatever, the little sifter there. So if you run some dry sand through there, and of course there's rocks and such, which ultimately think of all those little granules, which those much weigh, and there's a whole bunch more of those than the bigger rocks. So I think of those being the positive thing. So at the end of the day, you're running through.
You said the rocks are the positive, or
the rocks would be like the negative piece in my mind. So like all the positive, that rifles right through there, the mind. You don't think about that very much. That's gone. All the great things, which again, that's most of it. But when you get done sifting, there's those 3 or 4 bigger rocks in there, and those are the bad things. And that's all that's still sitting there. And again, as far as reflection, it's so easy to look over, the 100 good things that happened or the 300 good things, but those 3 or 4 things that, whether it was a meeting or just one conversation or interaction or just something didn't go your direction, you had to wait for a train or whatever, those are still sitting there and you're just stewing about those things, which isn't super healthy.
No.
Which is the filtering. That's a word that's used in a lot of, research when you're talking about positive mindset, and usually it's not filtering, it's filtering out the good to focus on the bad, which isn't a great practice.
No. And you said practice, I mean, just like doing anything, running, working out, or just practicing any kind of skill. I mean, it takes time and effort, and a little bit of, just gotta be conscious about it too, just to try to
work on it and to realize you're doing it, which again, it's not, I think this is a huge a misunderstanding, I guess, is when you get through the day, certainly you gotta take a look at those bad things. Like I said, if it was an interaction or something, one's not going to be much of a leader or a person in that matter if they're not going to think about that again and think about, oh gosh, that did not go so well, I handled that very poorly. and, make a plan to follow up on that or whatever it is. Or, when this comes around next time, I'm going to do this differently. Certainly have to do that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what thoughts are sitting there. And if they're the ones you're going to bed on, all the bad ones, I mean, that's a vicious cycle because, they're going to be sitting there when you wake up in the morning, and it can be exhausting.
Well,
it's not a good program.
No. And you saying, I liked your analogy with the sifter or whatever it's called. But for me, it is, you sift through all that and you get, like you said, your 3-4 things. But what I do then is I kind of just toss the little pan to the side, and it's not that you just forget about it because, that's not what a good leader does either. You just ditch the bad stuff out of there and just are done with it. But it's like, no, I'm like, there's a time and a place, I feel like. And yeah, I mean, this is going to have to get dealt with, but it's not going to get dealt with at 6 o'clock when I'm having supper with my family or, trying to have a little, reading time or whatever it is before.
And you can do that?
Bed.
You can do that?
Oh yeah, I just huck them and they're gone.
I feel like you're not good at that.
I can do that sometimes. I think
Sometimes.
it depends on, I mean, are we talking like middle size rocks or talking like boulders? Because I can't throw a boulder very far, but I mean, I can get rid of the,
that's a good analogy
smaller
too.
stuff.
Well, I just think of anything though. And again, that goes back to personality, a bunch of everything. But if you think of just being a parent too, if you have a certain standard for your kids, and again, like my kids are not old, but they do things that absolutely drive you up a wall. But at the end of the day, are you only thinking about those things like, oh my goodness, they busted that new pitch or whatever, they tore apart the whatever it may be, or are you thinking about all the fantastic things that and all the things that made you proud of them throughout the day. Hence the pessimist or optimist. But I think one piece of it is, which can be a challenge. I don't know if it's more in a a personal setting or a workplace setting, but I think what can happen is sometimes if there's folks, individuals, whatever, that may be more of a pessimistic mindset, is I think there can be sometimes people think if you're walking around with your smile on your face and there's there's challenges every day, that it can be taken into, someone can think that, oh, well, that person doesn't care because they're walking around with a smile on their face. Whether there's big stuff going around, it's like, and I honestly have to check myself with that when I think of my own thoughts and I think of my own angst with things is, well, if I'm not worried about something, if I'm not worried about this happening, then I don't really care about it. If I put it filed away, well, I don't care about it. That's when it's going to sneak up on me. That's when it's going to get me. Like, oh God, he wasn't keeping tabs on that for a minute. And then it blew up. I think that's part of it. And again, I think that's something that happens in a workplace. But again, I struggle with that myself too. If I want to be happy-go-lucky, it's like, oh, well, maybe I don't care about those things, which is not true at all.
Well, no, and I mean, you'd be doing yourself and everybody you work with, and I mean, just anybody who comes in contact with you a disservice. I feel like if you're gonna constantly just focus on the negative things and not enjoy or take in the positives as well, I mean, that's not being a good leader. That's not being good to yourself, I feel like.
No, I think it is, and we've talked about this. I think a certain part of being a huge part of being a parent or a leader in a workplace setting is, I think a huge duty of yours, depending upon what that looks like, is you're kind of the risk manager. And some of the positions I've held in the past, I mean, that honestly was pretty much laid out. Like, part of what you're doing in this leadership position, you're responsible for risk management, for what this looks like. But I think any parent of any kind, or anybody for that matter, that's certainly a component of it. But I think it's how to balance that. What I mean, because you got to make choices, make decisions, and go about your life with, making educated decisions and making sure that you're putting yourself and putting the others immediately around you in a good spot to hopefully have success. With that, the risk management part, you're thinking about what could go wrong, which I think sometimes I'm a little heavy on that.
Well, right now, I don't know if this is exactly what you mean, but like the picture I have in my head right now is like the Titanic is kind of angled up like this, but they still got the band playing. Like, the people are still trying to have a good time, but there's imminent danger.
No, I don't know.
Or is that not quite what you're getting at? Obviously, danger is maybe not the correct term, or that's a little extreme, but...
Well, I think it honestly, all this just centers back to, are you a pessimist or an optimist? Which somewhere in between the two, I think there's being a realist as well.
You have to have a dash of that for sure.
No.
You can't just live in bliss.
I wouldn't want to, no one would want to follow someone that's,
it's not always sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah,
and
because,
else.
I don't think you want to hit up a plan or a day or whatever and go into there and thinking, well, what could go wrong? Nothing can go wrong.
This is my day.
Yeah, it's good. Which, again, I kind of find myself in the other side of it. But I think as a leader, you definitely have to find that balance. Again, leader, parent. I think of that right now. Some of the things too is, I'm often met with conversations with my wife that, when I'm listening to all these things that, and usually it's not, this could go wrong. My mind often this is already in stone. This is going to happen, sky's falling, this is going to happen. And then, I'm met very frequently with what if it went right? It's like, well, that might happen.
The biggest, most dangerous game you can play is the what if game, because there's no end in sight, and you don't know what it's actually going to be until it happens. And I don't know, my advice to you is, if you're dealing with something like this, or
this is great.
No, I'm being dead serious. I haven't
whenever I hear my advice to you coming from you, that usually has not served me super well.
Get your notepad out. Get ready to write this down.
If it's that important, I think I'll be able to remember it.
So if you're going into something and you gotta, everything's gonna be okay, or you gotta pump yourself up a little bit, you need to listen to Tom Petty, Won't Back Down. And it'll fire you up, whether it's 6 a.m. or 11 at night.
That is a good tune.
Yeah, that gets you. It resets you. So just
okay.
There, you're welcome.
Well, I'm gonna say this, an ex-boss of mine, who I love dearly, an absolute great person. One of my, as far as leaders go, she might make it on
your Mount Rushmore.
She might make it. We're going to talk about that soon too. Mount Rushmore leadership.
I hope it's not for a little bit. We got to think about
big
that. Big
picture first one. I got one behind me here too. We'll talk about that in another episode. But speaking of Tom Petty, I remember how many times I looked at this, and it just saved me, like in a meeting, because in huge letters on the back of her computer, she just had one sticker, and it was a Tom Petty quote. And it was, most of the things I worry about never happen anyways. So I would I would sit at meetings when we're talking about all these things, a bunch of new stuff that you got to remember or do, and then thinking about all the other current challenges. I would just look at that. It's like, that makes a whole lot of sense.
Maybe she had that sticker on there for you and not for her.
Maybe.
So you could see it.
I think everyone, because, everyone was it was a team of about a dozen. We're all doing the same work, and I think everyone kind of needed to see that and hear that, but that's something I very much appreciated. Need to have it like tattooed.
I haven't heard you say that before. I like that.
Yeah. No. So speaking of the Tom Petty world, well, I got one for you then too. You said if you need to reset, pump up. I've told you this before and you've laughed at me. And I've told other colleagues.
I can't remember what this is.
I'm
intrigued.
I've told other colleagues this, and they said, you don't actually do that. I said, yes, I do. And it's probably only been actually witnessed by a couple others, which I usually do a good job avoiding that. I shut the office door or do it a little discreetly. But before...
What are you doing with your wrists?
I don't know.
So you took mom's Fitbit.
Mom's Fitbit?
So you take mom's Fitbit. She was looking for that.
Why did it have to be mom's Fitbit?
Because
I know
she's the only one I've seen wear one.
a lot of men wear Fitbits or an Apple Watch. This isn't a Fitbit, by the way. This
It looks
was
like it.
this was like $19 on Amazon. I can't believe it's still working. Actually, now I can't remember what to say. Oh, ultimately, like if you have something that you're stressing about, like a phone call you have to make that you really would rather not make, or if you have to hop into a meeting that you know is going to be contentious or whatever, but anything like that is, I always said, normalize doing about 10 push-ups before that.
Maybe you should make it 20.
I could. Well, then the sweat monster might start. And
Well, the
that
thing
can't
is, you
stop.
saw me before. I try to, going into a stressful situation, do as few things as possible that I know are going to make me sweat
No, I
even
do.
more.
Well, this is, more so whatever, but I'm just like 10. Just get some good vibes going. What are we saying? Like get the dopamine, get a little rush, get some good vibes, and then honestly,
I'll have to try that.
it just makes it
I'll maybe do 5.
5.
Yeah. With my knees on the ground.
Anyways, that's just, something to kind of get you in a different frame of mind.
I'm going to do
and
the push-ups
some
with the
just fun.
Tom Petty. I'm going to put that song on as I'm doing the push-ups. I might do 100 of them.
That would be a little excessive, maybe. And when you put your shoes on and the sweat starts falling.
Wow, there's a long bend down there to get them going.
You need a shoehorn like I have. Back. I was joking about it. Actually,
So do you
to
actually
another
have,
bus.
you don't have one?
It's not just a shoehorn. There's like an extension on it,
For what?
so you don't have to bend down all the way.
Do
So
you,
my back is shot.
do you actually use it?
Yes.
Does it work?
Yes.
I might get one. That's
Huh?
what I want for Christmas.
Otherwise, I had
Or
for a
a
while
shoehorn.
had to plan with. Well, now I think all my dress shoes, they either have tied perfectly, where I can just yank them on if it has a tie, or it's the ones without the tie. And all my other shoes that are not work-related shoes, all are slip-on ones.
Or slip-on Skechers.
I haven't tied. I tie a pair of shoes about twice a year when the ones need to be retied. Not so much Skechers. You do wear Skechers.
Yeah, I got a fresh box sitting in my closet that hasn't been worn yet. I'm just waiting for the other ones to wear out, but they don't.
You need one of those. You're a dad officially now.
I'm not getting New Balance.
You need the New Balance or the Air Monarchs, the same one though, the white with the blue.
I don't know. I want the Skechers.
Mold along with
I don't like white
Your
shoes.
crew.
They get dirty too fast.
your crew socks.
What was it I wore? So I was we're getting off focus. I'll reel me back in after this. But I told you I always wear just very neutral colors and everything like that for the most part. But at school, I don't even know why I got them. But I had a pair of Asics that were white and like electric green. And
Electric.
that's what I don't know what other better, like a lime green color. And it's not like anything I would ever wear. And I had them in my closet for like a year before I ever wore them because I didn't want them to get dirty. And I finally wore them to school one day last spring. And the comments were coming in.
Hot.
Oh, yeah. People liked it. Like my favorite one I got, like before I even got to my office that day was, hey, I like your shoes. I'm like, thanks. Like, did they make you run faster?
That is so funny you say that because I think I told you this a little bit. The last pair of running shoes I bought had found the ones I wanted, and I'm not so much a fashionista myself. But I had to do some heavy thinking because it was like the construction, I'm sure the same deal. Like the neon green.
Yeah.
Which I was thinking the exact same thing. The comments, they make you run faster. If someone saw me,
Do they light up?
yeah. Well, I was ultimately thinking I wasn't worthy of that color. But after a lot of thinking, because they were like $18 cheaper than all the other ones, it's like, you know what? I don't care what people think. I'm going with the cheapest one. So I was definitely a little self-conscious running around with those things.
Mm-hmm. I'm going back to the black on black ones next time. Maybe some navy.
No, with my headphones on like this too that I wear. That Brennan absolutely despises. My ears don't.
So it's funny. you had said that. Just I got to bring this back up again too. But before we were starting to do this, when we were in Fargo in the I don't even know what the corral or whatever at the before the marathon started, and you said something like, "I don't see a whole lot of people wearing these big headphones like this. Was your big stupid blue headphones or whatever they are." And I'm like, that's because these people are running a marathon, not hosting a podcast.
There was nobody else
No,
on the
there
route
was
that day wearing
a
those.
lot of buds or clips. There weren't a lot of full on headsets. You look
I'm
like
a
you're ready to
fan.
fly an airplane. This is your pilot speaking.
I'm a fan of things that can't break. I'm simplistic. You know, they didn't have that Bluetooth. and
Mine
everything.
are
It's
small
pretty
and they
good
haven't
charge.
broke. I've had those for like 3 years.
No, well, if the Bluetooth was a problem, I'd just see how long of a cord I could get to run up and down the driveway with it plugged in.
Oh my god.
But no, yeah, we did get a little off there. But ultimately, you know, I think it is just as far as monitoring one's headspace, because you know that's where everything starts. You know, that's where things are cooking, whether it's good things, bad things. And I think something to think about, and this is ultimately, you know, you read any study, this is, you know, a finding when you talk about self-talk, optimist. And this is something that this is something when I do some reading, it's like, yeah, I definitely have a little work to do as far as this is one of the big things as far as where you find yourself on that spectrum is, you know, never, I'm gonna see if I can get this out now. You don't ever, anything that you would tell yourself, anything that you're telling yourself via self-talk is something that you would be willing ultimately to say to somebody else or would.
Oh.
So what's the other way of saying that? Never,
You wouldn't say something to somebody else.
never say something to yourself that you would share with somebody else.
That came out way more clear the second time.
I think, right?
Yeah.
Never say something to yourself that you wouldn't say to somebody else.
Yeah.
Which I think that I am a mean son of a gun in my own head.
Oh yeah.
Some of the things.
I think there's a good chance that both of us would be fired if we said
No.
if we said the things in our heads that we talk about or say to ourselves.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly right. And I wouldn't be married for sure. That would have been long. I wouldn't have any friends. For
Honestly,
sure.
I definitely wouldn't be your friend.
No, but if you think of that, I mean, yeah, that's a struggle. Like I said, some of the things that I tell myself, you know.
But to an extent, though, like you said, though, it's all like not the mindset then, but it's mindset, but also then how you convey it to other people. So it's not like you're lying to people when you're smiling and everything. But I mean, it's just like you said, to work on yourself.
I guess my point is I'm very honest and forthcoming with people. Obviously, there's professional conversations that have to be done where, you know, you're going to use professional language and such. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that I get after myself hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the things in my mind, as far as the things in my mind, I don't think about other people nonetheless say. You know, I think of the people, even if it's a challenging situation, somebody you don't get along super well with, or if they're, you know, if someone's not the highest performer, you know, I don't put them in that box that I put myself in my own head as far as, you know, the you know, the you suck kind of chant. Or,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're awful. You know, can't believe you did that. You're terrible. You know, why did you do that? You idiot. You know, so it's the same. It's just the same kind of deal. But ultimately, that's kind of like the golden rule, the standard that as far as positive self-talk goes. Never let a thought enter your mind that, you know, you wouldn't portray on somebody else, which that's not a strong suit of mine.
No, I mean, I would say that that's for myself too, that's definitely a good area to look into working on.
No, and I don't know. You know, I think it's important throughout a day, you know, even if, you know, it's important to have some time for some reflection, whether it be in the morning or the evening or both, where you're taking some few minutes to digest things, but during the day to also, be checking yourself, as you're walking from a meeting or cruising down the hallway or whatever on the weekend with your in between whatever you're doing, check yourself, how are we doing today? How are things running? Just because it's easy to get sucked into some poison some days if you're not taking the right steps, which,
well, if you're feeling good about yourself, I mean, I would imagine, what, if you're doing good, feeling good, you're going to be able to take care of everybody else around you even better too.
you got to be in a good spot. And I think there's a certain degree where you can ultimately fake or pretend that for a while. And by that, I mean, if you're not feeling great about yourself, know what I mean?
Yeah.
And portraying that out and making sure you're picking others up. But I mean, that's exhausting. I mean, that's a good way to get burned.
Well, it's a good,
you can't fix that.
And I think it's, everybody has moments, whether that be a minute or an hour or a day or a week or, just times when they need a little pick me up and everything like that. But I mean, just knowing how you can work on yourself or how you can help yourself and get to a point where you are feeling better. I mean, I think that's good too, knowing what you need.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta, like we've said, a lot of that's routines and such, but some of this too. And, you mentioned that everyone has a different level ultimately as far as, what may constitute a good day versus a bad day. And again, that's not belittling anybody or minimizing that life can be an absolute bear sometimes, right? People have some crosses to bear, again, whether it's things completely out of your control, medical and such.
But it's all how you handle it.
It is, but like you said, someone might have a different level of, someone, well, you had just mentioned, somewhere at a store in recent time that the response you got with the good morning, which I'll let you share that. But, some people are, I have
some people are just looking for a fight.
Well, no,
but they're looking for the negative. They don't
be wrong. No, but like you said, if their coffee order or something is wrong, this day is shot. It's over, and look at the time, and it's
6:45 in the morning. So this day is
this day's buried. Yeah. So again, people at different levels, but I think of myself, and I'll let you share that too. But again, if someone gets hit in the teeth with something right in the morning, something unexpected, that didn't go right, that can kind of get off kilter, and then something else goes wrong. It's easy to fall in that trap, 9:30, 10 o'clock. And it's, I told you, I absolutely love one of my favorite movies, Oliver and Company. But with Fagin, if anyone knows the movie, I'm having a bad day.
So
and old
dumb.
Sykes, tells him he owes him his money when he doesn't have enough time. But, that's kind of what I thought, when you're sitting there, it's like, I'm having a bad day. So I think it's about kind of building some resiliency there as far as, to not get into that Fagin mood so quickly.
When we said, I mean, you don't know what people have going on in their lives, and what they have to deal with. But like you had said, is kind of how you choose to deal with it. Because, I've known some people who have had some insanely terrible things happen to them and their family and people they know, and you would never be able to guess it, based off of how they handle themselves and walk around with a smile every day. And for me, then, seeing something like that or somebody like that, it almost makes me even, feel like, oh, like I definitely have room to improve or be better if I'm, not feeling great about this, compared to that, a minor type thing, and what I could do to better myself essentially. But
And I'd say it's not, and I know that's not what you're saying. Certainly we're not promoting if we got stuff going on, hiding it and burying it. And I know that's not what you're saying. But I think in those situations you're talking to, that those people, hopefully, or you would think that they got, something rolling that, again, they were probably a positive person. If you think of those people, they were probably positive.
Yeah.
every day, right? There seems to be some strong correlation there. If it's little things, big things, as far as how people handle those things with a positive mindset or not feeling as hot about it.
Oh, and I mean, yeah, I guess so. Just an example I could think of would be is just one person who, maybe a bird poops on their car and they completely freak out. Like, this is going to destroy the paint. And then you got this other person who maybe a storm or a tornado rips their house completely off, and they're just like, man, we got a great foundation to build this new house on. There isn't even a crack in that concrete. Like, I mean, it's just all...
everybody's okay. We're good.
Yeah,
Not a big deal.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, so again, it's just how people handle it, and there's not necessarily a right or a wrong way of doing it, but obviously trying to get to a point where you can look at the positives, like you had said. We got everybody here, everybody's safe, and just in looking for the pros in where you're at too, and not just seeing the negatives in it.
No, and we'll talk more about this specifically too, but I think this topic specifically, when you think of optimism and having a positive mindset, I think it's healthy and maybe eye-opening at times. Think about as far as where you're leading and the people you're leading, what's it like to be led by me? Have you thought by that before?
I do, and I don't know if I want to know the answer.
No, but just that's some really healthy and maybe some really powerful reflection. I think about that a lot of times too. If I can tell I'm being a pissant of sorts, what's it like to be married to me right now? Or what it's like to have me as a dad right now. And if it doesn't make you proud and excited, and maybe buff out your chest a little bit, then it's maybe time to just be a little more cognizant over there and make some changes too. Because, and that's, when you think of role models, I personally am so thankful. And it's not just people in leadership position, but, when you worked a few jobs before, getting to know quite a few people, it's like, oh my gosh, and I can think of my head goes to a few people right now. It's like, gosh, I want to be more like that person. If I see them as a dad, how they're interacting with their kids, how they talk about their kids, how they talk about their spouse, again, how they interact with them. Same with leadership. I've been lucky to work with some really good ones. So you do your best to kind of emulate those people and steal things from them and kind of carve out yourself as far as your leader. But, think about that a lot.
Well, it isn't. I guess, I mean, obviously, got to be comfortable with yourself and who you are and what you're doing and doing things, the way that work best for you. But it's like, you're saying that, and, there's a few people that come to my mind when you think about how they treat other people, how people portray them, what kind of a parent they are or what kind of a leader they are. And it's like, God, like, I hope, I want to get to a point, or hope I'm at a, sometime get to an area where people view you, the way I view that person. Like, oh, like this guy's just this person is a great leader. Like they're just someone people want to hang, not hang around, but just listen to, and, and someone they trust, essentially.
Yeah, I think it is. And we're going to talk about that more, but something even more so about reflecting on yourself. I've tried this. I should do it more, and not sending out like a Google survey or anything else, but, ask Ashley one time, just out of the moment, out of the blue, or ask someone at work, just go up. And, you kind of got to pick. When I say pick the right person, it's not pick the right person so, they can tell you how great they are when I put on the spot. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, that's just what I was thinking.
You got to say what you ask mom.
I kind of ask, hey, what's it like to be in this building with me as a leader? What's it like to have me as a boss?
I'd like to see their survey responses
and just get more comfortable. I think that comes back to a culture thing too. And again, that's a whole nother ballgame. But as far as openness and stuff, it's not like, what do you think you mean? Then let's scribble it down. I'll remember that. It's more so, hey, you're looking for feedback. And I think that goes back same as a spouse.
Constructive. feedback.
Yeah, well, there's certainly
Not
a
just
place.
some pot shots. You suck.
And hopefully you have that with like your spouse certainly. But ultimately, again, and your kids. And actually, we'll talk about this. This is a big topic. It can hit you hard, but if you ask your wife, your husband, hey, what can I do to make this better for you? How can I be a better spouse for you? And it's usually maybe just small stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, I'd really like if you greeted me this way. Or if, hey, can we
Hot
have a quick
stuff.
debriefing? Something. Something, whatever. Usually it's just such little things, and this is another topic, but I was going to say that can be entertaining, especially if you got kids, like our age. Ask them, you probably phrase it differently than how can I be a better dad or whatever. But ultimately you get undertones, and I already know it makes me feel like a piece of crap. It's like the phone thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why is dad on his phone all the time? It's like, yeah, that about destroys a guy on a given moment. So, but again, knowing it, it's better to know and fix it. Yeah.
Well, I think again, you have to realize that things are going to change. It's a fluid situation from day to day, moment to moment, and I just think so it's going to come across like I'm breaking right away. Just if you listen to the second part, you'll know I'm just saying it's not. So like today, with Jerks, we went on. He was like, "Dad, can we play baseball?" I'm like, "Let's do it." And we went outside and we played baseball and kept playing, and we played for like 2 hours. And we quit because he's like, "I am sweating," and he was sweating pretty good, and he's just like, and he's kind of tossed the bat to the side, and he starts walking toward the house, and he said, "This game is over." And I felt good. I'm like, I outlasted him, and he was good. Then got some lunch and everything else, and I'm like, wow, like what a great dad. And then I'm like thinking about yesterday, when it was like 9:30 in the morning, and I was just like, this is, I've already reached my limit of, and I'm like, how can I, be fair to him and show him that I care, because I do. And so today was, and the rest of that went good, but today was like an awesome day. So it's good, to me, it's great to have those two and just know, like, all right, like, let's
kind of bask.
Let's do this again though tomorrow, not just build off of it. And because there are not, and that's what I meant, is not everything's always perfect, and it's not, you can't pretend that it's perfect. And I mean, there's things to work on and everything like that, but it's like it was good after yesterday, me feeling like I wasn't maybe at 100% to have a bounce back day and feel better about it.
Run it back again tomorrow.
Do it again.
We talked a little bit about the filtering piece with the whatever. What did we say? We still don't know. Sifter.
Sifter. I don't. We're going to look that up. I don't know if that's actually right or not.
Sifter. I think we portrayed it, but then the other one is, I'm going to maybe say it wrong. Who you want to lead it to? We talked about this. This is another con one that's in a bunch of articles too.
Excited to hear you say it.
I'm going to let you say it.
I want you to say it first.
No, because I don't think you know how to say it.
You don't know how to say it. I know how to say it. I told you. I said it.
Just say it then, please.
Catastrophizing.
Say it one more time.
Can you use it in a sentence? Catastrophizing.
Catastrophizing. Which, again, this is something, and I think everyone's got a little of this in them too. But ultimately, of course, as you can think of what that would mean, is if something goes astray, you go right to the 100% worse.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you don't have all the facts or all the information at hand, kind of that whole sky is falling mentality type of a deal. Which, again, I think when you think of leadership and you think of some proud moments and such, or you think of moments where you've been, faced with a tough thing and you're being led by somebody. Again, this is personal, family stuff, professional wise, is, you just look for someone that's a constant. Again, there's a realist factor too. Something terrible happens. Oh, it's going to be just fine, which I think it's to keep that mental. But again, to be a realist.
Someone that you know they're going to back it up.
Yeah, but I mean, they're a realist. So, hey, this might suck. This might be challenging, but, we're going to get through this. We're going to be fine. But, I just think of someone that's kind of got that, kind of like that temp control type deal in those things. Someone that's just level, not all over high, which, they're all over the place when someone's great and fist bumping and, they're the lowest of lows, but someone that's just kind of in the middle,
Well, I mean, I don't mind some high fives
No.
and everything else, but yeah, you also don't want to, someone knocks on your door and be like you had said, like, this is bad news.
Yeah.
We're not going to make her through this one.
I'm having a bad day. And, and when you're doing that, that's normal too. And I think there's a line, and I could work on this too, personally. It's maybe not the most healthy, but, when things do suck, because sometimes they do, if you can do that in a spot, and again, this all goes back to wellness and taking care of yourself, so you're able to bear some of that for yourself and for others. But, whatever that looks like, whether it's a scream, know what I mean? How it's where no one can hear you, or if you're crying in the shower, whatever it may be. Because sometimes, it is. And I think there's that fine line of, being...
picturing you crying in the shower.
being authentic. You want to share with people and be real with people. This stinks. I think there's that line. But also, if you're the person...
Well, I don't.
you want to make sure that you're being that for people. I think that's important.
Well, I don't think, to me, tell me if you don't agree, but I think there's nothing wrong with, being with someone and just admitting, saying, hey, man, we're in a hole right now, but we are going to get out of it, or, we're going to get through this together, instead of just, you can't just, like you had said, not acknowledge something, something bad happened or whatever else.
No, I think it is. And again, there's that balance. But as far as the weight of that situation, how can you deal with that? And again, exactly 100% agree with what you're saying, we're going to get through it. But if that weight is rather heavy, how you deal with that on your own time, not in a space in front of the people that you're serving, whatever that looks like, making sure it's healthy in some regard too. It's another run. Like I said, if you need to scream or cry in the shower.
Listen to Tom Petty.
Something to get you fired up. Something to keep you going. Which again, like we said, all goes back to the wellness of all kinds, which so much of it does. But, got to make sure we're keeping things in between the ears in a good spot.
Well, you got to take care of yourself so you can help take care of everybody else.
And I think about, ultimately, like if you think about when is your, we'll end with this here, unless you have some words of wisdom for us, other than the Tom Petty. That was a good tip, but I was thinking it was going to be a little more
what?
Better. I thought you were going to hit me with some better advice.
Listen to the lyrics, and you'll be like, oh.
Good advice.
You better... you can send me an apologize.
Yeah, no, I'll maybe try that. I'll try that in the morning. Message. No, but ultimately, we can close on this too, but with the presence of social media and all these things, there's so much... there's a chance to absorb a lot of negativity, even outside your interactions with people at home and, tough things, actual conversations that are going on. There's always negative. There's negative people everywhere.
Yeah.
But on top of that, you got that catalyst of the social media and such. And, as soon as you open any of that stuff, I mean, it's just... Usually a lot of it's not super healthy depending upon what you're doing. But, it's just... an opportunity for that poison to start soaking in. So, choosing what you're putting into your mind too. The outside sources, because that's definitely going to have an influence on what's going in between the old ears there too, of what you're taking in.
Well, it is, and I don't know if this is exactly what you're getting at, but saying this on your own time, kind of a recharge thing. Either reading a good book, or I try not to watch a whole lot of TV or anything, but when I do now, I'm kind of to the point where if it's not funny or if it's not like a romantic comedy, I essentially don't want to watch it because I can't afford to whatever. Even Ashley and I started watching a series, and we watched like the first 2-3 episodes together, and now it's just me because she's just like, this just is too much. Like I can't, this isn't helping me out here. So it's kind of like, all right, well, I still like it, so I guess I'll watch it. But usually it's just nice to watch, or again, not watch, but just fill yourself with things that are more positive. Or
just want to check yourself and makes, when you're watching something or whatever else, how is this making me feel? Is this elevating my blood pressure, or
and maybe that's what some people like. Then
but you think that's a problem for our young folks too, which we'll talk about that. We got all kinds of things to talk about about our young people and making sure that they're taking care of themselves too, because there's a lot of opportunity out there to become overwhelmed. So, regardless, life's hard enough anyways.
Is it?
You don't need someone. Is it? Yeah. You don't need someone else. Oh, by the way, the grocery store. We don't want to leave that on. That was just quick.
Fine.
Go.
I'll throw this in there. We can kind of end with this, whatever. But just saying where people are at and their mindsets and everything like that. And again, not knowing what everybody's dealing with, but I don't know. For me, I love when I'm going to any kind of store, walking through the parking lot, walking through the store, just give a little wave or smile or say hello. And to me, I honestly just love seeing when someone else, like, they're not expecting it and they smile back. Just, or it kind of pumps me up a little bit, just makes me feel good. But doing that, and, every now and then, someone who doesn't acknowledge it or whatever, and that's completely fine. But this was beginning of the summer, but walking through the aisle, and you see this lady walking by, and it's like, good morning. And she snaps back, is it? I'm like, I thought so. Maybe not anymore for me. Definitely not for you. But is it? And I'm like, ugh. All right. So this is not someone who's going to be filling my bucket.
No, probably not.
Oh.
Maybe you. I don't know. Normally I would agree with you, but if it was your face saying that to me, then I might have a similar. I don't know if that put me off on the best start either.
No, probably not.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Well, that was good. Yours wasn't as good as the one I led with the first week. Yours was much more mellow than the one I had.
Yeah, no, that was...
Maybe it was the same one.
It was the same one. I don't know. You'll run into her soon. I sent her an application to your building.
Well, the other one, no, she wasn't.
She's back in Chicago now.
Yeah, we'll pretend that just to enjoy that a little more. They had a long trip ahead of them, so who knows? Again, you don't know what she had going on, but yeah, gotta be a little more mindful maybe sometimes the things we're saying.
Everybody's got room for improvement.
No, but we'll leave with let's leave with that closing thought. We touched on it. I guess kind of a prompting thought. A little reflection for everybody is, what's it like to ultimately after I have a conversation with someone, how does that person feel usually? Are they feeling uplifted and supported, or are they feeling like, I wish I didn't know that person?
I'll tell you how I feel once we're done with this.
About me? No, we'll be running it back here. We'll see you next Thursday, and we'll be here to chat a little more.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, take care.
All right, happy trails.
All right, that was good.
I thought so.